This is Newark Today, WBGO's award-winning call-in show. We're discussing the issues affecting New Jersey's largest city. And now your host, Andrew Meyer.
When you think of kids and summer, there are probably a number of images that come to mind. Lazy days with no school work to worry about, an opportunity to be outdoors, to play, to enjoy. But in Newark, in a city where nearly half the kids live at or below the poverty level, there are a whole host of challenges. For one thing, making sure the summer is a safe one. For another, that kids stay out of trouble. That's our focus on tonight's show, and we have a couple of guests who are going to help us with the reality and provide us with some info about the safety net that's out there for children. Advocates for Children of New Jersey is a watchdog group providing that reality check on just how well we're doing by our kids. We are pleased to welcome the longtime head of the organization, Cecilia Zalkind. Thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
And when it comes to giving kids something productive or just plain old fun to do, the Newark YMCA has been doing that for quite some time. And the man who can talk about all they have to offer is Michael Bright, CEO of the Y. Michael, nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
And there's one more guest on tonight's show, the most important one of all, and that's you. Are you a parent? What are the opportunities, or lack of, that you've found for your kids? Kids, too. We want to hear what your summer's been like. You can call us at 1-800-499-9246. That's toll free, 1-800-499-9246. You can also email us your question at NewarkToday@WBGO.org. You can post your info on our Newark Today Facebook page. I want to start off by giving both of our in-studio guests an opportunity to paint the broad brush picture for kids in Newark. And let's start with you, Cecilia Zalkind, for kids in Newark. There are a whole host of challenges facing them throughout the year. How are they compounded during the summer?
Well, I think the challenges are great. As you know, we publish a Kids Count report every year that focuses specifically on Newark. We look at indicators of child well-being, health, safety, education. And I think that there are challenges there that have to deal with poverty, challenges in the school system. But when you talk about the summer, I think the challenge is greater because the opportunities are fewer. When kids are in school, they have the school day, they're there, parents know they're safe. Summer is a lot of free time for a parent to try and fill. And I think, that's true for parents anywhere. I remember when my kids were young, you'd look forward to summer for about 2 minutes, and then you'd think, oh my God, what am I going to do? What can I find? But when you think about Newark and families who don't have the income to purchase those services and programs that might not be available, I think it's a greater challenge.
Michael Bright from the Newark Y, what do you have for kids?
Well, we have a host of activities, and obviously other agencies throughout the city have activities for the kids. At the Y, we have summer day camp. Other agencies will have different day camps as well. One agency can't serve them all. Newark Public Schools have the recreation programs throughout the day as well. I just think it's most important, though, that we recognize that in the summer is probably more important than in the school time because from an education standpoint, kids lose so much. So to have a child involved in a summer camp program where they're doing field trips and getting out of the city and doing some environmental studies and getting in touch with the wilderness, activities like that, going to museums, and are critical, not only to safety, but to retaining education and preparing kids for the fall.
This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. We are talking about making a difference for Newark's children during the summer months. Got your own questions about what's going on? Some ideas about programs that might make a difference? You can call us at 1-800-499-9246. That's 1-800-499-9246. I want to bring the acting Essex County prosecutor in here with some sobering information about the realities of summer in the city of Newark. This is from a press conference at Winona's House last month. Winona's House, for those who don't know, is focused on helping kids who are the victims of abuse. In that press conference, Prosecutor Carolyn Murray said that every summer they see an uptick in reports of abuse.
There are 3 types of abuse that get handled criminally. There's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, and there is neglect. And the summer can create the potential for all 3 types of abuse if children do not have sufficient supervision, if teenagers do not have sufficient activity.
Let me get you both to respond to this, and I'll start with you, Cecilia Zalkind. Advocates for Children of New Jersey puts out kids count reports tracking how we're doing in taking care of our kids in New Jersey. These are annual reports, but what about seasonally? What's the information you have?
Well, we don't look at the data much on the seasonal basis, but I think what the prosecutor says is absolutely true. If you look at data from our state child welfare agency, the Department of Children and Families, there is an uptick during the summer for a lot of reasons. Kids without supervisions, sometimes the summer can be more stressful than other times of the year for families as well. So I think that is an issue, and it's also a problem for older kids who get in trouble on their own.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has some startling stats on this. The annual cost as a result of child abuse, the economic burden in the U.S. is $124 billion a year. That's a staggering amount of money, Cecilia Zalkind.
You're absolutely right. It is a staggering amount of money. And when you look at the cost of prevention, right, programs that can help families before those issues occur, most states don't make a significant investment in prevention. Actually, New Jersey is better than states across the country, but we still don't make that investment. And you're talking about the financial cost. There's also the human cost to families and the long-term consequences for kids and families.
Michael Bright from the Newark Y, what's the reality you see from the kids who take advantage of the programs at the Y?
Well, I think one of the biggest advantages is when you leave summer camp around 6:30, all you want to do is go home and sleep and rest. So they're not getting in trouble after 6:30. So parents love it. So when they come in, the kids are tuckered out, and all they do is compliment the day and how much fun they had. And there's nothing like picking up a child and see them smile after a long day. And you're so used to school where they're being taken care of in the school. But when you come to the Y and pick up at 6:30 and the kid is just, tells you all the great things they did and they learned, they touched a frog or played with the snake or something of that nature, it's something you can't really put a value on. And then, obviously the safety issue, we're talking about safety and we may get into it later, but, one of the biggest threats to urban youth is drowning. And, you come to the Y, you learn how to swim, you become water safe. A lot of parents don't realize some of those other aspects that programs like ours provide that continue to make their children safe.
What's the age range you deal with? How young is too young or too old for you?
Well, the good thing about the Y, we're cradle to grave programming. For the summer youth, we have activities for infants through 3-year-olds for swimming. Our summer day camp is based on school age, though, it's 6 to 12, and then we have CIT programs. Those are for the kids who are 13 to 16 years old who might not have a summer employment, but they learn tricks of the trade to be a counselor, so they become old enough they actually, like first in line for jobs when they become 18. So it's a great program. And they get to help out during the day with some of the younger kids, and we teach them all the safety issues and risk issues so they better prepare themselves. And then they have some of their fun time as well. So 6 years old up to about 16 years old is what we do with our summer camp.
This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. Tonight's show is all about Newark kids and keeping them safe and out of trouble. With us tonight, Michael Bright from the Newark YMCA and Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children in New Jersey. It's a conversation we hope you'll find not only interesting but helpful, and to make it even more so, we welcome your participation tonight at 1-800-499-9246. That's 1-800-499-9246. You can email us your question at NewarkToday@WBGO.org. You can also get in on the dialogue on our Facebook page, the Newark Today Facebook page. Michael Bright, you're on the ground at the Y, directly involved in the lives of so many kids. Are you and your counselors, the people who run your programs, are they trained to be on the lookout for the abuse that the prosecutor was talking about in the sound clip we heard just a few minutes ago?
Most definitely. All of our staff, one of the positive things, we have a lot of returning staff, which is always a good thing for a program. When you return 90% of your staff, they're used to the systems, they're used to the trainings. All of our staff go through intensive training. The state has requirements that we have to meet to obtain our license as a not-for-profit agency. We have to have a license, unlike some other programs such as public schools and such. But we have intensive training, and child abuse prevention is not only a local YMCA initiative, it's a national YMCA initiative. Our goal is to protect the children, our number one priority. Without doing that, we're not an agency that would survive. So they're on the lookout for all that neglect, abuse. When we have trained teachers, certified teachers who work with us in the summer. So our staff is wonderful, and they really get that part of it.
I want to get some kids' voices in the mix here. One of our reporters went out and asked what they had lined up this summer. Here's a random sampling of what they had to say.
Well, my experience is at the Boys and Girls Club of Newark. So I come here every summer. We do everything. We just have fun. We do activities. If you don't like activities, we do sports. If you don't like sports, we just have fun. We learn and we do everything.
I'm doing double dutch for the summer, and I'm doing shows and competitions in double dutch.
Well, I basically want to spend time with my family and study more on my work.
The YMCA is just one organization providing programs, as we just heard Michael Bright. One of the kids mentioned the Boys and Girls Club of Newark. Is there any one place where parents can go to learn of all the options out there that are open to them and their kids, or is it really just sort of piecemeal and catch as catch can?
Well, no. Actually, the city of Newark produces a summer program guide that agencies can voluntarily participate in and provide the information that they do for the summer, and it's a pretty big guide. So the city is on top of that. But obviously, as an independent agency, we do our own marketing just like the other agencies. We actually collaborate with the Boys and Girls Clubs on different initiatives as well. So we know that no one agency can do it by themselves. So the only way we're going to impact the kids' lives and families' lives is trying to partner with each other and do some work collaboratively. So we do that time and time, but there's definitely a site at the city who has all the different agencies' information on what they do and prices and age ranges and times. A pretty thorough guide.
This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. We're talking about kids in the summer in Newark and what the options are out there for them, and making sure they're staying on the straight and narrow. To get in here with some of your own thoughts about this topic, you can call us at 1-800-499-9246. That's 1-800-499-9246. Camille from Newark is joining us on the program this evening. Camille, welcome to Newark Today. What's your question for our guest this evening?
I have a 15-year-old son. We live here in Newark, and just a couple of weeks ago, he was a victim of violence. He ultimately had to have surgery. Now my son is basically under house arrest from the people the young kids, minor kids, who I found out had a long record and still out on the streets. How do I we talking about keeping our kids safe in Newark. How do I keep my son safe? Because my son can't walk the street now unless he's accompanied by some sort of adult. And I have to work, and he wants to do things for the summer, but he can't. How do I keep my son safe? I press charges, and I haven't heard if these kids were arrested, but I'm scared.
Camille, let me get Cecilia Zalkind to weigh in on this first. Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey. I got to imagine that this is a very common story. It's one thing to have programs for kids that keeps them out of danger, but there's no accounting for the danger they could run into anywhere.
Right. I think that's absolutely right. And honestly, I wish I had an answer. I think that's a struggle. I think when you talk about that age child, you're not talking about a child who's can be involved in summer programs. There aren't that many for kids that age. And what you're talking about is even if you had an activity, he had something that he wanted to do, to get there is difficult. I think that's an enormous challenge, and one that, while there's been great progress in Newark, we really haven't taken on in any meaningful way. I would urge you to look into any programming that provide some type of program for kids your son's age, and raise that issue. But that's a significant issue. It's an issue during the school year, too, for kids who are going back and forth to school.
Michael Bright, you provide a safe, nurturing environment for kids at the Y, but there's no telling what they may or may not run into on their way to and from your place. Is this something that you've had to deal with kids in your programs?
Not necessarily. I'm sure that there's kids who don't come because of that. I wouldn't know them or know that issue. Obviously, when the kids come, They know it's a safe place. We have security, we have staff. You have to be buzzed in. It's a membership organization, so you have to be a member. Obviously, you can pay for day passes, but we have staff always on hand. Kids come down, and it's like anything else. Just when we were younger, you come and play, and you work out and have fun. Those activities aren't there. Now, what happens in the street, that's a different story.
What advice could you provide to Camille in this situation?
Again, her son's situation, is one that's tragic. I would advise her to, first come down, talk to me directly. Let's see what kind of programs we can find for her son. I would love to sit with you and explore some of those options. Our counselors and staff have a lot of connections with other agencies who might have a program that might fit exactly what her child needs. We run a early report center from out of Hudson County that meets at our Newark Y, where kids are mandated to come report and have activities. We do homework help. We do activities for life skills, and they have to do that from 3 o'clock till 9 o'clock Monday through Friday.
And for those who don't know where the Y is, it's located at
600 Broad Street, right next to NJ Pack, right across the street from WBGO.
And for those who want to get in touch with you, you have a phone number.
Yes, 973-624-8900.
Say it again.
973-624-8900.
You are listening to Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. Thank you very much for your call, Camille, and good luck. You can join the conversation just like Camille did by calling us at 1-800-499-9246. It's 1-800-499-9246. 9246. We were starting to talk about other programs that are out there and where you can get more information about them. And I actually wanted to mention one program that I read about earlier this year. It was featured in a book, A Chance to Win, by Pulitzer Prize winner John Schuppe. It's about a guy named Rodney who lives in the South Ward, and wanted to do something to give back to the community, to help kids, to give them something to do. So he started out of his own pockets, his own Little League team. He scrapped by to make it possible, getting donations here and there. And Cecilia Zalkind, you're nodding your head. You're familiar with the situation. Are there enough examples of Rodneys out there, this sort of big-heartedness in Newark? Others you might want to single out?
Well, I think there are examples. I remember reading about him and his program. From time to time, you read about people who've come back to the community who've grown up here and volunteer or offer services in one way or another, sometimes sports, recreational activities, educational activities. The problem is, and I am aware of the city's directory, and my organization actually collects some of that data. We put out a summer program directory. It's not organized sufficiently, so we don't know everything that exists, especially the informal programs that you've talked about. And even when we can identify programs, how a parent finds out about them can be a challenge. You have to have a way for a parent to know. You can have parents who have a lot of savvy and have the time to explore, to look into programs, to find things for their kids. And some parents, who are overwhelmed with work and getting to work and maybe have 2 or 3 kids, they have to get into different activities. It can be really challenging. So for us, I think there's not enough, for sure. And what's there, I'm not sure is as widely publicized as necessary.
We are obviously getting towards the end of July, and we're about halfway through the summer at this point. But for parents who are still looking for something for their kids to do, haven't found that program yet, is it too late to get them enrolled? I'll start with you, Michael Bright.
Not at all. Unless a program is completely sold out or filled by licensing capacity, certain agencies might not be able to take more. But I know at the Y we still have space. We're taking 50 kids up to our camp, Linwood McDonald, up in Sussex County on Monday. They're going to stay there all the way through Friday and get an outdoor experience, and we're going to do that for the next 4 weeks.
Right. I don't think it's late. There are certainly programs that are ongoing. As I mentioned, we put out a summer program directory. Anyone could pick it up in our office or access it on our website.
And the website is?
www.acnj.org. The link is right on the homepage, too. It's called Summer Program Directory. And there are other referral agencies that might not come to mind when you think about recreational activities. For example, programs for parents is the Child Care Resource and Referral Agency. They might identify programs.
And that's all on the website. This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. When we come back, the difference Newark schools make during the summer months.
This summer, more than ever before, we are going to have one of the most exciting summer lineups. Everything that you can imagine is probably going on in Newark, New Jersey. So whether you are young or young at heart, this is the summer for you. Find out about what's going on. Don't miss the excitement. I want you to have a safe, super summer. Come down and get a copy of the guide. Go to the website. Don't miss out.
And welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Andrew Meyer. Newark Today is more than radio. You can now watch the program as it's on. You can find our live video stream on our website at wbgo.org/Newark Today. And if you are watching us online tonight, you'll see that our guests are Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey and Michael Bright from the Newark YMCA. We're going back to the phones now. Mark is joining us on the program. Mark, welcome to Newark Today.
I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Yes, I'm thank you for this program. It's a good way to spend a Thursday night. I want to salute Seal and Michael for their participation not only tonight, but in everything they're doing with their kind of incredible organizations throughout the year. My question really was, if we could dream big, and I know we always start from a standpoint or starting point of scarcity, assuming lots won't be there. But if we could dream big, I wondered what Seal and Michael would say if money weren't a constraint. How would we build out our summer? What would it look like? Trying to start with the most. What would it look like?
All right, I'll start. Thank you, Mark. We'll start with Michael. Dream big.
Dream big. Wow. First of all, every teenager would have some type of summer employment. I think the root of some of the issues start with opportunities of gainful employment. You know, kids need to have something to look forward to, have pride in, have responsibility to get up and go do something. I think that builds so much more character, and then they have pride in themselves. Every child would have access to summer camps or activities that would enrich their lives, programs such as environmental education, museums, books. The loss that our kids have is really a tragedy during the summer because they're not having those activities that are keeping them enriched. And statistics show, every summer that a kid doesn't have that experience, they lose a grade of activities to the kids who are actually going out there and having those experiences. So when they go back in the fall, they're already starting back 6 to 8 months behind that child. So the playing field's not level. And every kid, and I tell my staff all the time, if I had the magic wand, every kid in 3rd and 4th grade will know how to swim. It's unbelievable statistically of the youth that are endangered by water hazards because we have so much access to water, but people don't know how to swim.
Mark, who called in, challenged you to dream big, and you just did. Now tell me, how far away are you from that reality? How far away is reality from that dream?
It's a step away because obviously it takes a lot of resources for that. I may be speaking a little ahead of myself right now, but I did challenge my staff about a month ago that I want every child in our service area to have water safety in 3rd grade. And they looked at me a little strange, but I said if we keep talking about it, we keep pushing for it, every kid in our service area, and our service area is pretty large. We have all the way from Irvington all the way over to Jersey City, up to Nutley and over to Bayonne is our service area. And it's a lot of kids. And I want all of them to have be water safe. And it's not far, but it's definitely going to be a push. But if we keep talking about it and get some people behind us the right way, it will happen.
Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey, it's your turn to dream big. Mark, who, by the way, is at Rutgers Newark and is the Executive Director of Field Education at the School of Social Work, said dream big. No limits. What's the dream?
Well, I would certainly agree with Michael, especially around the job opportunities for teens. Meaningful job opportunities, not a job placement that you kind of fit in and don't learn anything. Something that gives them some substantive knowledge, but also a connection to the possibility of work in the future, what a different future might look like. I think that's really critically important. I guess I would look to, maybe this is the pragmatist in me, I'd start with what we have. Newark and look to make it better. What are the community centers for children and families? Schools, right? Libraries. Can we use those as a foundation to create those kinds of activities and networks for kids? One concrete thing, and this is a big dream, and it actually used to happen. It doesn't any longer. Newark has a fabulous preschool program for 3 and 4-year-olds. It ends with the school year. At one time, there was sufficient funding to allow it to continue through the summer with the recognition about summer learning loss, how important it is for kids. I'd like to see that restored. That was really important for kids and for families. And finally, I think there should be recreational opportunities for families, too, so that whole families can enjoy the summer together.
Like Michael here. Is it a step away? Is it a little further than that? All those points?
Well, I don't think it's impossible. I don't. I think it's not as far out as you would think. Sometimes I think it's how we use our resources more effectively.
Mark, thank you so much for your great call this evening. If you'd like to get in next with your own question, your comment, your concern about what we're doing for our kids in Newark this summer, you can call us at 1-800-499-9246. That's 1-800-499-9246. You can also email us your question at NewarkToday@WBGO.org. Now, before the break, I mentioned that we were going to be talking about the role of Newark schools during the summer months, and one area where they are key throughout the school year is nutrition. One of the things many people don't realize is the importance of the free school lunch and the free school breakfast for any student who needs them during the school year. They're there. Seal, what do your stats show about how many students in Newark participate in these programs during the academic year?
Newark is a huge success story nationally. New Jersey is not, but Newark is a shining star across the country. On the whole, New Jersey serves about 78% of kids' school lunch, eligible kids. School breakfast, we drop down to less than 30%. We're among the bottom of the country in that. However, Newark Public Schools have made a commitment to school breakfast for all kids in the city. And they are at the top, not only in New Jersey, but across the country. Very positive.
Now, the reason we mention the academic year is that when the school year is over, so do the free school lunches and the free school breakfast. And this is a big deal. Last week, we spoke with Cherry Walker, who's coordinator of the Summer Food Service Program for the New Jersey Department of Agriculture. Here's what she had to say.
The program serves to bridge the gap in nutritional health that would exist since now school has closed and the children no longer have access to the school meals. We try to provide that continuity in nutritional health so that when school starts back again, they're ready to learn.
So, Seal, is the program really bridging this gap while school is out of session?
Well, I don't think it's as extensive as the nutrition programs in school during the year. The summer meals program is very important, but it still has to be connected to a program. It's not something a parent can access on their own for their child. So, if a child finds a program for the summer, that might be an asset to them. Otherwise, that outreach isn't there.
So, I'm a parent listening right now, and I want to know, I need my kid to get access to the free school lunch, the free school breakfast. How do I go about doing it?
Well, Newark has a nutrition director, and any school will take an application. And in fact, the schools urge that at the beginning of the year for parents to sign up. It's an easy application. It's one application for both programs.
It's as much an awareness issue for parents as it is anything else.
Yes, it is. And it's also not just a question of getting kids signed up, but making sure the school is serving breakfast when kids eat it. We have a major school breakfast campaign, and what we've discovered is a lot of schools serve breakfast when kids aren't in school, before the bell rings. Those programs that serve breakfast after the bell are far more successful. Eastside High School here is a fabulous model for that.
Michael Bright from the Newark Y. What do you see in terms of hunger and nutrition among the kids in your programs?
Well, we're fortunate that we're part of the summer food program as well. So our program qualifies. So all of our kids who come receive the free breakfast and free lunch. We obviously provide snacks and other nutritional activities. So our kids are well fed. They're allowed to bring their own food and snacks if they choose. So we haven't seen any type of issue with that from that standpoint.
This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. Tonight's show all about looking out for the well-being of Newark's kids during the summer months when they're out of school, and with a lack of supervision, we might add. If you've got some thoughts about the subject as a parent, as a kid, maybe you're someone involved with a summer program and you'd like to let us know about the difference it's making, you can call us at 1-800-499-9246. That's toll free. 1-800-499-9246. You can email us your question at NewarkToday@WBGO.org. You can also post a comment to the Newark Today Facebook page. It's one thing to have access to nutritious meals that are free, but what about education? Michael Bright from the Y, do any of your programs include info for kids about making healthy food choices?
Yes, we do. We have a great program which is actually sponsored by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield called Healthy You. The program is a family-oriented program where the children, there's a wellness component to it, a fitness component, and a nutrition component. And we do that program throughout all of our programs, after school and our summer camps. And in short, the physical education side of it is 60 minutes of continuous movement. We take traditional games like kickball, where one person kicks while it runs around and everyone stands there. Well, we modify the game where you might throw a frisbee and the whole team has to run the bases, and the team playing defense all has to run out to the frisbee and do some exercise drills. And it's just a big fun concept of all the traditional games where it becomes all inclusive. There's no out. If you go out, you got to do some jumping jacks and get back in. So it's fun like that. But then there's also the nutrition part, which is incredibly important, that involves the parents.
I was going to say, it's one thing to teach the kids, but do you slip a little something in their bag that they can take home and show their parents? Do you talk to the parents and they come to pick up or drop off?
Yeah, there's take-home worksheets and materials. I mean, one thing we've learned, obviously, is you can't just tell the parent, because if it's not, the child, if it's not happening at home, everything you do in that 3-hour period of after school or that period of time during the school day, it doesn't really, it helps, but it doesn't get to the root of the problem. So if the parents aren't shopping properly, not cooking properly, or not displaying proper eating habits, then the kids are going to revert back to that. So you lose that step. So we have workshops for parents and the materials, and then kids. It's funny because you'll see the kids telling the mom or the dad what they did around nutrition and what they have to do now when they go home. So we see it's working, and statistically, the kids who are in the program, that nature, their BMIs are down. Their knowledge of health is a lot greater. So we're trying to take the whole family through the process of learning.
Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey. You're listening to what the Y is doing. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Is this pretty representative, or is there enough of this in the education newer kids are getting?
I don't think there's enough, but I do think it is something that's gotten much more attention in the last several years. I think, again, if a child is connected to a program that's made that commitment to advocating with that child for nutrition, exercise with that family, yes, they'll get that education. I don't think it's widespread enough. But we have an opportunity, and actually that's one of the issues we're looking at exploring in next year's Kids Count, in terms of what are kids getting, are the meals healthy, what kind of education is going on. I think that's an interesting and timely issue. We've certainly talked to programs, talking yesterday to a Head Start program in Newark, about how they have incorporated healthy eating, not only for the kids, but for the parents into their program. I would also add that, it's also a question of what's accessible in the city. I think Newark's made progress in supermarkets, the farmers market, but it's still not accessible for families to get healthy food.
And that goes to the whole complaint about overcoming the idea that Newark is a food desert. Mm-hmm. This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. Tonight's show is all about the well-being of Newark's children, and we just touched the third rail of whether the public schools are doing their part. We'll get into more about that, but we want to know what your thoughts are on the issue, what the schools could be doing more. Whether there's a greater role for the schools, you can call us at 1-800-499-9246. It's 1-800-499-9246. You can also email us your question at NewarkToday@wbgo.org. We're going back to the phones now. Edward from the South Ward is on the line. Welcome to Newark Today. Edward, let me get you right to your comment this evening.
Well, the question is, the YMCA is a national organization, and the First Tee is an organization that's been in effect since 1997. It's an international organization, and they teach academics. It's an academic program, but they teach them through golf. They guarantee scholarships if the participant can reach a certain criteria. The criteria, they must have a 3 to 4 point grade average, do the SATs and things and all of that, which are taught through the Taste First Tee free to all the kids, all the participants, if they can reach it. It's a 4 or 5 year program academically, and it's right here in Weequahic Park. It's been there since 2006. There's no cooperation between the First Tee, the YMCA and the First Tee.
So, I'm sorry, Edward, you'd like to see some cooperation between your group and the Y?
Definitely. We are an organization, a local organization, the Weequahic Park Sports Authority. And what we have done over the years was able to work with the First Tee, bring it to Newark, and it's been there for the kids. It's a free program.
Edward, let me get Michael Bright in here on this. Michael, would you be amenable to a partnership? Is that the right sort of alignment? Is there some group that would be better to align with the First Tee and the Weequahic Park Sports Authority?
Well, first, let me say I'm a big fan of the First Tee program. Actually, I teed off and behind some of the kids in participating, and they need to teach me how to play because they could really play. I was embarrassed after going behind them. But no, we're very open to that. I think I said it earlier. No one organization can impact all the children in this community. It's going to get done through and with collaborations of other agencies. I mean, I'm in conversations right now with Street Squash Newark, which is a similar program where it's academic based, but it's through the squash game, and just same thing. I would love to collaborate with First Tee in the Newark program. We just got to find out what that is. What does that look like, and what can we do? And we have access to children. They obviously have the expertise with golf. They could give me some lessons too. I would help out.
I heard a little bit of frustration though in Edward's voice, and I believe he's already left. But it sounds like he needs partners to really take the program to the next level. Yeah,
I mean, again, I would entertain the conversation. I've never been approached directly by anyone from First Tee, and I would love it. I'm a fan of the game, fan of the program, and wherever we can collaborate, we're very open to that.
Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey. We look at a group like the First Tee. And it sounds like they need more resources. Is there just a greater demand than there is supply? They're just not. You were challenged to dream big, but is there just not enough money in the pot to really get the programs to all the kids that need them?
I would say probably, but I would say there's some steps before that. You use the example of a community program that brings kids in for softball. The caller talked about the golf program. Do people know enough about it? I think that's back to the issue of how do families know? How do you make connections? It would be very exciting, to connect that with a program like the Y, to connect it with the school, especially because it's got an academic base. So I think, sometimes doing things a little more collaboratively is more effective. Will it solve all the problems? No. I think resources are still needed, but that's a step.
This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. Our focus tonight is on looking out for the well-being of Newark's kids during the summer months when school is out of session. When we come back, when a lack of supervision leads to temptation and the wrong path.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
And welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Andrew Meyer. There are a number of ways you can keep up with us. Get the latest on what we're doing on the program on the Newark Today Facebook page. And for info about the show and everything we do at WBGO News, you can connect with me via Twitter at Andrew Meyer, WBGO. I want to get back to the schools. We were talking about nutrition in the last segment, free access to good, balanced meals. But a bigger question, Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey, what about the schools themselves? What about the idea of schools being open, literally open, for education year-round? We've talked about how kids in Newark can fall behind during the summer months. What do you think about that idea?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's something we haven't explored enough here or in the state. This idea of communities and schools, where the school becomes a hub for the community, where it's open longer, a school year that's extended. Some states are exploring more extended school years, but also a hub for families and kids to come to for non-academic things too. There's been quite a lot of writing about how successful that's been. So I think on both levels, extending the school years, providing that academic link so learning doesn't get lost in the summer, but also using the school as a community hub.
Michael Bright, this is a very hot-button issue in Newark, especially with the teachers here. Let me get your 2 cents on that. Would it be a good idea for schools to go year-round in Newark?
I'm sure there's everyone has different opinions on it. I think personally, knowing the statistics and what kids lose, if there's an opportunity to do it in a way that's manageable, I think it's a plus that if there was a way to do that. Again, it's not always the book part of the learning. It's the experiences. If you're not going to museums, if you're not going to libraries and to the zoos and the different activities where you can learn, to have that on, touch and feel and the learning pieces, that's a big piece of the summer learning loss. It's not always reading and doing arithmetic. It's the experiences that our kids are not getting. So if there's a way to manage it to where it's done in a fun way, I think obviously it would be more acceptable even from the kids' perspective, obviously, and then who knows, the adults may have more fun doing it as well.
Mm-hmm. This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. Our show tonight is focused on looking after the city's kids during the summer when school is out. Got some thoughts on what more needs to be done, maybe some of your own experiences. Don't wait. We only got 15 minutes left in the program, and the show will be over before you know it. You can call us at 1-800-499-9246. That's 1-800-499-9246. Now, our focus on tonight's show has been all about what happens to children in Newark once school's out for summer, the risks they face, and the programs out there for them. And we've talked a bit about some of the more dire aspects of the threats they face. But one thing that's just as dangerous to kids as abuse is neglect, even if it's unavoidable. We talked to a couple of parents about their own struggles.
For the children to do if they're not into a summer camp, and it's bad in the streets of Newark, so you really don't want your children out here in the summer. And there's parents that really can't afford to pay for paid summer programs so that the children can have something to do.
Most kids just sit in the house and watch Disney Channel all day. Nah, you don't want that. And some parents can't afford to send their kids to camp, so you just got to try to make the best of the summer for them.
Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It is. It is a recipe for disaster.
Kids need supervision more than the Disney Channel can provide.
That's right. And it's both those enriching activities to use the summer in a positive way, but basic protection. What happens to a kid whose family is working all day and they can't find or afford a summer opportunity for that child? Do they stay home alone all day? That is definitely a recipe for disaster.
Michael Bright, head of the Newark Y, many times it comes down to money, as we heard. What if a parent, a caregiver, just can't afford to pay for one of your programs? Are they simply out of luck?
Well, I can only speak for the Y. We have a no turn-away policy for the inability to afford it. You come in, you want to participate in our summer camp. We have scholarships. We have financial assistance. We base it on income. We base it on hardship, and we fund it. Obviously we don't have an endless pot, but we don't turn you away. We'll find the resource for you. And obviously the more that happens, the more we have to just go out and fundraise and call on other agencies to help support that. I mean, no child should be turned away if they want to be there. I mean, hearing those parents speak is just disheartening because a lot of it's awareness. They automatically assume that they can't afford it when it may be a $50 fee for 2 weeks, and that may be very affordable to them because they see the posted rate of $245, or some programs maybe $300 a session. But we have financial assistance, and we'll work with you as best as we can. And there's other agencies like Program for Parents. Obviously, they have third-party resources. There's a lot out there. You just got to know.
Give that number again, where parents can call. They're thinking, "Oh wait, I can afford it then." Where do they call?
They call YMCA 973-624-8900. 973-624-8900.
Our number here at Newark Today is 1-800-499-9246. That's 1-800-499-9246. It's the number you can call to get in on this conversation this evening about looking after Newark's kids during the summer months. Douglas from the South Ward is joining us on the program right now. Douglas, welcome to the program. What's your question this evening?
My question is concerning the topic of the all-year-round schooling. Actually the 44th district leader of the South Ward. And we have had numerous layoffs of our teachers and staffing. Also, we've been understaffed and cut financially for us to even talk about having a year-round schooling. We can't even have regular schooling during the regular school year. That's the question: is when are we going to fix that problem first before we start adding on something else that's not going to be achieved?
Okay, Douglas.
At this time.
Douglas, thank you. And Cecilia Zalkind, let me get you in on this. We're talking, I think, more hypothetically at this point, but there's a very real value in doing this if the money can be found to make this happen. I think that's what it comes down to.
That's exactly right. I think that there's certainly value in extending the school year, and I agree with Michael. It's not just academics or solely academics. Those enriching experiences are important too. So maybe instead of teachers and an academic day that looks like the rest of the year, are there opportunities to bring programs in to run those enriching programs? We have those models where childcare programs are run after school in the schools, but it does come down to resources even on that scale.
Are there conversations that either one of you have had with the school district, with the superintendent, Cammie Anderson, about interaction between the Y and the school district, and in your case, between advocates and what you're doing and what the school district is trying to do? I'll start with you, Seal.
Well, we certainly talked to the superintendent. Our strong interest is preschool, and how do we build on this wonderful program that the district has? I think she has many challenges in front of her and has set a list of priorities where she's starting. It's a lot to take on all at once. I'm not aware of conversations about extending the school year, and I agree with the caller. There's a lot of concern about actually providing what they can during the school year.
Michael Bright from the Y?
Well, I think the first part of it is, and I agree with the caller, but there are models that work. The issue is, are we going to be able to do models like that within the system? Obviously, there's contracts, there's agreements that have to be met. One of the pluses for like a YMCA model is, the cost for us to do is a lot lower than most school districts, so we're able to do programming a little differently. But as far as talking with the schools, unfortunately, I have not had an audience with Cammie. Personally, we have dealt with some of her aides, and we have incorporated our Healthy You program in some of the schools. We trained some of the staff, so they're doing some of the Y activities. We as a YMCA funded that and made sure that there's some pilot programs going on there. So we're trying to take some of those paths, but I think, as Sil said, there's a lot of issues on that plate, and some things like this may not be totally up on the higher level right now, but when it gets there, trust me, we will do what we can to try to bring some of that to fruition.
This is Newark Today on WBGO and WBGO.org. I want to go right back to the phones. Joanne from the South Ward has a follow-up question on the one that Douglas just asked. I want to get her in here. Joanne, let me get you right to your point this evening. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you.
So go ahead. What's your question for our guest this evening?
I'm concerned. Newark Public Schools had an excellent extended day program, 3 to 6, 6 to 9. And under that umbrella of extended day program, we have a summer youth development. That's separate and apart from the summer enrichment, which is summer school, for those who have to attend summer school from 8:30 to 12:30. But the extended day program offered a summer youth program from 12:30 to 7 p.m. every day in the summer, 5 days a week. That program was cut drastically, and it's so sad because so many of our children are feeling that cut. It hasn't affected the adults, but it affected our children who are most who are most important. I am really, really very disturbed by the cut. There were 35 or more schools that were cut. Their summer youth development was cut. Clinton Avenue is a preschool, and in back of Clinton Avenue, Mildred Helms Park.
Joanne, I understand your point. What is it you'd like to hear from our guest?
What can be done to bring back those programs so that next year our children won't feel that cut?
Thank you very much, Joanne. Michael Bright, if this is true, and I have no reason to doubt what Joanne was saying, this sounds like it's putting more of a burden on organizations like yours to fill in the gap for these kids.
Well, first of all, it's very true. The caller is absolutely right. I am very, very close and familiar with the extended day program, and we have seen, obviously, kids who have been displaced because now the sites are more scattered and they're not as many, obviously, and the kids have to, I'm assuming, they have to get to the site where they're being offered. So if they're, blocks and blocks away, that's going to be tough. So we do have, this is the first year that the cuts really took place, and our enrollment is up, but also means our scholarships are up as well. So our feel on that is we're trying to fill the void of the financial impact of trying to serve the kids. And obviously, at some point, our building is landlocked. We can only take so many kids. So I'm assuming other organizations as well are getting some of the kids who normally would have been at those free programs. And it comes down to dollars. I believe in my conversations with some of the extended day leaders that over the years, millions and millions of dollars have not gone there. So it comes down to dollars. And for the cost, earlier as I was saying, there's other opportunities to do that. If as a Y, another agency, we're able to do it a lot more efficiently. Maybe there's opportunity for us to begin to partner more and bring some of that to reality. But that has to be an openness that the schools want.
This is Newark Today and WBGO and WBGO.org. We were starting to talk about the added component of the dangers facing kids during the summer months of neglect. And I imagine that when you start considering this factor, one of the other factors that comes into play, kids without supervision, the influence of gangs. Seal, how big a threat is the lure of gang life, especially during the summer months?
I think it's a significant threat all year. I think in the summer when kids have more time on their hands and lack of supervision. I think often we make the assumption that when a child is older, they're responsible enough to take care of themselves. That's not true. It's a lot of time on their hands to get into trouble in a whole variety of ways. In listening to the caller who just called in, those programs are so important. That's one example of a cut. New Jersey After 3, which was a very exciting public-private partnership. So it raised private money to support after-school programs. It just closed its doors. I'm going to put my advocacy hat on and say that people have to make noise about this. Take it to their local and state leaders. Make it more of a priority.
Michael Bright, you're on the front lines dealing with boys and girls in Newark. Is gang prevention any part of the activities that you do directly or indirectly?
We don't do it directly as a program. There are programs that are out there. We obviously are a resource when that activity like that come up and we're aware of. As most people know or don't know, obviously at our YMCA we also have housing programs, so we have kids who may come with some of that, and we deal with that and have referral services. But as a program directly, we do not do any gang prevention programming. But the prevention is good programming and activities, and I think when that happens, kids have a choice and they pick different ways because there's something more productive out there for them and positive. And kids want positive; they just got to be shown where it is.
Towards the top of the show, we heard from the Essex County prosecutor talking about some of the dire realities of summer. And I want to ask you, Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey, is law enforcement in general on the right track with how it's handling kids who are starting to slip down the wrong path?
Well, I think actually, yes, better than I would say 10 years ago. We've had some exciting initiatives in the state, some of which have been piloted here in New Jersey, that have taken a different approach at kids who get in trouble. Creating alternatives than putting a kid in detention, for example. It's been hugely successful, and it's required law enforcement, the courts, probation, other aspects of the law enforcement community to think a little differently. And to hear how that community has come together on alternatives has been very exciting. I think there's been a significant change in Newark.
Accountability time. Who's not doing what they need to be doing? Who needs to do more? And we're talking about government at this point.
Tough question.
Yes.
We are in a difficult economic climate as a state, right? We're digging out of that slowly. Newark probably more slowly than most communities because of the unemployment here and other demands. I think at this point it's a question of priorities. Where do we put our priorities? I think it has to be more on children. So I would start, with local officials on up to our state officials and also the federal government about what it's doing to prioritize kids.
Michael Bright at the Y, while you are a YMCA, you were mentioning off air that your Y is wholly independent. How have you come out of the recession? Are you recovered from the recession?
It's kind of weird. We had a little reverse of the issue because we deal with so much housing and affordable housing and homelessness. The recession made a lot of people they were in a cycle of homelessness. So our shelters and our supportive housing programs were actually at its highest levels. So we were financially fine. We had to be more creative on how we service people because so many more people were in that qualifying area that needed support. We were on the different side of that formula, and we did well.
And that's all the time we have tonight. I want to thank our guest for being with us this evening, Michael Bright, CEO of the YMCA in Newark. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Cecilia Zalkind from Advocates for Children of New Jersey. Thank you so much also for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Our crew tonight on the show, on the phones, Julie Dorio on the board, David Talixon, and running everything in the control booth, our producer, Monica Miller. Newark Today is a production of WBGO News. You can find a podcast of tonight's show along with past shows on our website at wbgo.org/NewarkToday. And you can now watch this show on Newark Channel 78 and at wbgo.org/NewarkToday. I'm Andrew Meyer. Join us next month for the next Newark Today.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
This is WBGO Newark.